Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Glenn H.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing, man?
You know what? All my apps say I am superb.
Really now?
But I don't feel it.
Not feeling superb?
Nah, I feel tired, man. I just feel tired.
Haven't we talked about that before, though, about reading the label
Facts
on
and
your
feelings?
own jar? Yeah, facts and feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, you sometimes when you're on, you feel off, and sometimes when you're off, people go, "Oh, that was really good."
Here's what it's like. I'm back to losing weight, right? So, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, feel fat, right? And I roll out of bed. I'm like, oh, God, Glenn, you're fat. When are you going to lose more weight? And then I get on scale. I lost 3 pounds from the day before.
Yeah, right there.
Right?
You go.
I mean, how?
Yeah.
My feelings meter is off.
Right.
It needs calibration, and I find that quite often during the day. I just can't. I just have to do the next right thing, irregardless or regardless. My wife keeps correcting me. It's not irregardless. Regardless of how I feel,
Right.
just do it.
Right.
Right. And I mean, if I live life based on how I feel, I'd be drinking right now with you, or by myself.
Right. Probably, I would guess it would be B. I don't think you'd want to drink with me.
I couldn't. I have a feeling I couldn't keep up with you.
Hey,
God, would that be nasty?
can we do some self-promotion here on a couple of items?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, first of all, we have a website called Sober.Coffee. So
I know, we don't talk about any of this
I know
stuff.
we don't.
We used to run down all this stuff.
But there's ways to get a hold of us. Podcast at Sober.Coffee.
Yep.
And then we have a resource room, which, as we mention things on the show, or we come to other resources that we feel are valuable. They're out there. A lot of AA help, a lot of other program help, a lot of great links. Good stuff. We got the podcast available out there for download. And then we've got a section called Writings as well. Well, we got About Us, and then we got Writings. And if you're a reader as well as a listener, Glenn's spilling his coffee over here. He's a hot mess. Oh, the whole thermos went in.
Brian, I didn't spill. Stop.
He didn't spill. Yeah, Brian's looking at all his electronics here. But anyway, we got Writings. They're blogs. They come out twice a week. If you got somebody on the sober path and they want to get some more inspiration and hope, we hope that our writing section will deliver that for them. So check out the website when you have a chance. We'd love any feedback that you have. We drive a lot of what we do by feedback that we get from our listeners and guests. So
Yeah, so the writings align with the episodes, correct?
right. Yeah, and it might be one little thing that was said, or maybe something
Snippet.
that wasn't said. And
Kernel.
That's
Kernel.
right. Some kind of kernel, and it's just 1,000 words based on that.
So I think the writings are amazing. I think they're better than the podcast, to be honest with you. But hey, it's air, land, and sea, right? I mean, some
Right,
people don't like to
exactly.
read, some
Sure.
people like to listen, some people
Right.
like to watch, and
We got to put some new pictures up
I
there,
know,
too.
I'm like, where'd that picture come from?
Right.
Oh no, man, we are so ADHD today.
So anyway, yeah, every day.
Yeah, every day.
That should be the new name of our podcast.
And thanks again to Brian at Audio Hive. We're part of the Core 4.
Yeah. Hey,
So-
Brian, pipe in here for a second. Say hello. No, that's fine.
No, that's fine. All right, so Brian said hi. So we're part of the Core 4. So Brian's got a lot of clients, and he's in the Chicagoland area. Just does an amazing job. Every time we walk in here,
He's got more than 4 clients. We're just part of the core.
Yeah, no,
4.
we're the initial
Yeah,
Core
he's
4
got-
years
yes.
ago, right? So every time we come in here,
There's
man,
new
there's
stuff.
another capital
Yeah,
expenditure.
right. Yep.
There's another camera, another set of lights, another set of buffers.
Yeah, it's pretty high tech
Yeah, it's awesome stuff.
for a
So
couple of high touch
good
guys.
stuff, man. So, all right, housekeeping all done?
Yeah, housekeeping all done.
All right.
So I got a topic today, and I need your help, Glenn.
Okay.
Because this really keeps coming back in front of me everywhere I turn. I turn to the right, I turn to the left.
You see a lot of billboards.
I'm seeing a lot of billboards on this, right? And in my work environment, in my living environment, and I don't know what the word is, and I've been trying to put my finger on what the word is, but because it's not empathy, but maybe it's understanding. Here's the thing. I don't know you, Glenn. I know you, but I don't really know you. And even though I know your sober story very well, I still don't know you. I can't appreciate where you've come from. I can't appreciate the trauma you had in your life. I can't appreciate the culture you grew up with. I guess my point is that as we journey down life together, I can't appreciate all the stories that make you the you that you are at this particular moment right now, because everything shaped your perspective, your feelings, your core values, your principles. I know since we've been on the sober path, I know more about the principles you align with. I know more about the values that drive you. I know more about your habits, but I guess I'm quick to judge still sometimes people, and that is so unfair because I don't know them. I don't know their story. And there's a word for that, and it's really not empathy. Like, I try and be empathetic to people, which is to try and understand the position they're in, but I don't really know that person. And I'm quick to judge, and I feel that is an area that I need to work on and not be so judgmental of people when I have no idea what their backstory is. Starting from the guy who cuts me off, I have no idea if he's racing late to work, and if his boss told him if he's late one more time for work, he's out of a job. And he's got a wife and 2 kids at home, and he just cut me off because he's racing to get to work on time, right? I don't know his backstory, but I also don't know that his dad lost a job when he was young and they had to move out of their house. I have no idea. Are you sensing my frustration, and can you help me with the word that I'm looking for?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I think, perspective, but so let's start with this baseline fact. Everybody is going through some sort of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I have enough experience of people sharing their stories where I can say that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also say that I don't care, as well as you know somebody, you don't know their shit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You might know part of it, but
right.
I like, when you first started out, I was going to push back because I'm not sure there's anybody that knows me as well as you do.
Mm-hmm.
5 years, just the life that we live outside this room, all the meetings we go to, all the interactions, the other men's group we're a part of.
Yeah, we're close.
Yeah,
we're close.
Right. And we give ourselves permission to call each other out and call you on your crap, and
sure.
Right. And I just think it's a great relationship. But you're right. You don't know my upbringing.
Right.
I had an amazing childhood.
Right.
Right. Right. And you don't know the specific life experiences that helped shape and mold me to who and where I am today.
Right.
Here's an example. We are part of a men's group at church. Right.
We are.
It's a spiritual men's group. God as we understand him, right? We're trying to figure out the God thing, and we're in the pool swimming. And we have 19 guys, 18 guys on our text string. We have probably 12 regular guys. And they've opened up. They're real. We know their stories. We know their hemorrhoids. We know when they have diarrhea, right? And because we're real.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because I look at other men's groups around church, and they're like my grandfathers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go into the men's group, they hold their Bibles high, they have no problems, they interact, they talk really nice to each other, and yet ours is like down and dirty, real.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of us has a misfit story.
Mm-hmm.
We have 100% of the 19 people have a misfit story.
Mm-hmm.
So is that just by chance? Or do you think all the other groups just aren't real and stand up and tell their misfit stories?
Yeah, no, I think we allowed people to peel the onion back and get a good sniff of what we are. I
think so that's the story where, you don't know what the person's going through next to you, right?
Right.
So the next word that quickly comes to mind is grace, right? Okay. So if you can make the assumption that everybody's going through some level of shit,
right?
Whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's health, whether it's work, whether it's just spiritual, they're just feeling. I mean, I really believe that people go through shit, and guess what I call that? Life,
right?
Just life. People go through life, right? And so, what I know, and a couple things for this. One is, I have been afforded on this path so much grace, right? So much forgiveness, so much grace. I have screwed up so many times, right? So, to whom much is given, much is expected, right? I'm not even sure if that's a real thing, but so the way I look at it is, Glenn, you've been given so much grace, and to be where you're at today, and so much forgiveness. You better turn around to the next guy and give the next guy a ton of grace, ton of forgiveness, right? Ton of empathy, because you don't know their stories, And like, I was in a situation at work, recently, and there's, again, or let's use the example of a guy in our men's group, right? We have a touchy subject we were talking about. The Bible took a stance on it, and everybody's giving their opinion. And just like everything else in life, one of the guys in our group is being crushed with that topic in his family, and the guy's almost in tears, right, going through it. And so what I can almost guarantee you is that if you bring up whatever topic in a small group of people, somebody is suffering from that in one way or another, or challenged, maybe suffering. They might be suffering, maybe challenged, or maybe whatever. It's a hot button for somebody. So what I try to do, and again, I'm not even sure if this is going to hit, but what I try to do is when I deal with people in the world that are jagoffs, right? Like the guy driving like an idiot. Maybe he's just an ego guy, right? Maybe he wants to show off in his car. Maybe he's late for work, right? He can't be late for work. You know what? I'm amazed. I don't let that stuff bother me one bit. I'm just stay out of my way. Glenn, you stay safe. Other than that, I just don't care, And so I look at that, and
well, you don't care about the guy driving, but you care about the guy in the small group who's got challenged with that situation in his life. You care about that.
So I care about that ahead of time.
Yes,
and I'm sensitive to that ahead of time. And when trust me, we know what the hot topics are, right? And if you're going to talk about a hot topic, there's got to be a level of sensitivity. Right.
You might be narrowing down on my word choices now, because what I see blatant in the world is people aren't sensitive, and maybe that is the right word, because I know you to be very sensitive to people. I know you to be, and let me just, you run across people on social media, you're sensitive to their needs, and you're responsive with action. Right. This happens with you all of the time. You're sensitive, you listen to what somebody says, and then you respond accordingly, right? Which is usually very proactively in your way. But it's because you are sensitive to the situation. I see a very big lack of that, and of what I'm talking about, in the grander population. I'll see somebody share at a meeting, and I'll see somebody retort back at a meeting and almost correcting somebody. Hold on, you have no idea. You have no idea where this person's coming from. Be sensitive. I think sensitivity could be the word I'm looking for.
So let's unpack what you just said. You said somebody in a meeting shouts out. So the way I read that, that is their ego, right? They're self-focused, their ego. They want to be the smartest guy in the room, so they're stepping up and correcting somebody, right? So that's not good. No, I think the less you think of yourself, I mean, what you use the word judgmental, and probably along with that, use the word stereotypes, right? I mean, it's easy for me to stereotype somebody, and I think I've got a PhD in stereotyping, and right. But I don't think being judgmental is a really great thing,
right?
And the reason I'm saying that is I think when I'm judgmental, I am putting my ego in the spotlight, and I'm like, I know better, right? And I'm not using empathy. I'm not thinking about the situation they're going through. I'm just thinking about all Glenn knows and how smart Glenn is. And Glenn, let me pat yourself on the back because you can categorize that guy or what they're going through, and you're the guy, and they're not, right? And so I think that's an ego type of thing, because who put me in charge to judge what they're going through? I mean, if I'm a boss and I'm judging results, that's a different story. But if I'm just a Joe Schmo in a meeting and I'm judging somebody else, like you started out with, I don't know their whole story. And it's not up to me, right? Who put me in charge of judging that guy's share or the words they use or their perspective? Now I can say, hey, that approach compared to the big book approach is off, right? And I do that, right? Or I judge people when they try to change the words of the big book because that's ego, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't do that. I don't change the words of the big book. I don't think that's good, right? So that's a lesson for me. But I'm also looking at them saying, how's your ego doing today, right? So I mean,
so yeah, we're judgmental on their from their stance or of their stance.
I think when you have sensitivity, I think when you have empathy, you use that word, and I think when you have a serving mentality, I think the opposite of the balance beam, you have words on one side and the other. I think if you had judgment on one side, then you'd have serving on the other, because it's hard to serve and judge at the same time. If you're judging that somebody's doing something wrong or needs something, or is there a way I can serve them to help them, right? I know the driver, it's hard to get out and help him because it's too late, he's too far in front of you. But if somebody's struggling with something, I know it's easy to sit in the bleachers, right, and pick on the person that's on the court, right? Is there a way I can get on the court with them, and walk with them or help them through that situation, or right? Is there a way that I can serve them? But it's funny when you initially just popped up a topic perspective, right? Appreciating perspective. What came to mind, the words I wrote down are empathy, understanding, and support. And that's exactly what we've talked about in 17 different ways is, what's Mikey going through that I don't know about? Right. And I'll guarantee you, I know 1% of the story.
Right, there you go.
Right. And then understanding is try to, but I would put the word grace in there too.
Yeah.
Right. Because who am I to judge?
Right.
I mean, again, unless it's a work situation where I'm their boss or they're my boss, right? There's a different dynamic. But, I just think, and instead of support, I use the word serving, right?
I love that. And also the other thing that's jumping around my head right now is, as you said, talk about grace. And I think about that sentence, forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I've trespassed a lot in my life. And so I need to forgive other people when they're outside their lane, when they're cutting me off in traffic. I need to give them, because I've cut many a person off intentionally and unintentionally.
Well, I've worked with guys in the program, and I've had the privilege of doing fourth, fifth steps with them, and connecting on keeping their side of the street clean, and just like my own story, I have been forgiven of so much, and Jen even says to me she did something recently, I can't remember what it was because I forgave and I forgot. But she goes, hey, She goes, I really appreciate you forgiving me. And I just laughed. I'm like, I will always forgive.
Yeah.
And I said, babe, I said, I've been forgiven of so much crap in my life.
Right.
I'm like, man, I said, now I may set up boundaries, right? And I may not, I may not, let that happen again. But I mean, come on, man. I mean, maybe I'm too easy, right? Maybe the guy cuts in front of me. I drive with my son, and he's like, doesn't that bother you? I'm like,
No.
Like why would I let that I cannot control bother me?
Right.
And I think of that often throughout the day, and maybe that's why I'm starting to live a little more peaceful. But a lot of it has to do with ego too. Because if you know better than somebody, then you're already setting up the soil for bad shit to start to grow.
I love that. Well, this has been good. I mean, it's been helpful to me.
Did we solve anything?
Yeah, you sure did. You gave me a word, and it's called it's sensitive or sensitivity. It's being sensitive to a situation, to a person, and understanding that I don't understand everything, but be sensitive to that they might have different views.
Well, if I'm in a meeting, right, and somebody's sharing, right, and they have it all wrong, right? Who am I?
Right.
Who put me in charge to judge what they are saying or doing?
Absolutely nobody. There's no hierarchy.
The minute you do that, there's ego involved, right? Now, I can sit there and learn from that experience because a lot of things we learn in life, we learn what to do, and we also learn what not to do, right? So I can take a situation like that and say, okay, the big book doesn't give that direction, right? So the big book gives a different direction. So, I can look at it as the judgment tool. But if I'm just inside my head, that's a bad place to be.
Right.
I think.
And I think it's a bad place for society to be. I mean, that's my big thing. I just see it happening a lot around me. It bothers me. And I know it's something I'm working on in myself to be more sensitive. So, yeah, this has been very helpful.
All right, man.
Going to keep being sensitive, empathetic, graceful.
I couched what I was going to say, almost slipped out. Being sensitive makes me sound like a pussy.
So what you couched was worse than that?
No, what I was going to say. Listen to Brian laugh. No, all right, wait, stop it. So that's what I was going to say, and then I was going to stop, and I was going to say, being sensitive makes me sound like a wimp.
Right.
But then I said the real thing instead. I'm a goof. But no, it just makes you sound wimpy, right? Oh, I'm sensitive, right? It goes back when somebody years ago called me fragile. I still remember that, right?
See?
But yeah, I am sensitive. I am aware of others' feelings, what they're going through. And why do I need to pound somebody that's going through problems? I'd rather help them.
Right. Well, I wish the world would think that way.
So
that's all I got, man.
All right, brother. Love you, man.
Thank you.
Be sensitive.
Yes.
Don't be a pussy.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.
Stay safe in the city of Chicago. Beautiful city.